Lisez le bon temps roulé. We're letting the good times roll on Game Day View presented by Mercedes-Benz as the Packers head down to New Orleans to take on the Saints.
Good snap, good hold, 46 yards. Yes, sir, kiss that pig.
I don't know much about kissing pigs, but the Cowboys may want to keep that porker away from Chef Russ in Seattle this week. Bacon. But we start in Buffalo where the 2-0 Bills host the 2-0 Rams. How early is too early for Buffalo wings on a Sunday? Asking for a friend. You're hearing Ricky Hollywood, and this is Game Day View presented by Mercedes-Benz. Here now, Cynthia Freeland and Greg Rosenthal.
Welcome to Game Day View presented by Mercedes-Benz alongside Cynthia Freeland. We will have Andrew Hawkins back with us next week. I'm Greg Rosenthal, and Cynthia, let's get right to the game, starting with my favorite game of the day, Rams versus the Bills in Buffalo. The Bills are favored by 2 points in this game, and I am looking for the Rams pass catchers to make plays after the catch. We found out the Bills linebackers are expected to play in this game, but what the Rams do really well is they get the ball to their receivers in space, and then their receivers make plays. And I love watching what Tyler Higbee does after the catch, what Cooper Kupp you're seeing right here does after the catch. It's all about timing. Sean McVay is in a rhythm right now, and he's going up, Cynthia, against a Bills defense that hasn't quite looked like the Bills defense of 2019 so far. I know they look good on offense, not as good on defense so far.
Okay, I'm totally with you, and I want to add that it is never too early to start eating chicken wings of any sort. So Buffalo chicken wings especially, you can start right now. I'm giving everyone permission to do so. I'm also kind of in that same theme. Jared Goff, can he continue to be really good when he gets outside of the tackle? So, for example, if you look to see what he's done in play action, he's 9 of 10. He's had some touchdowns when he's been rolling out and he's used play action outside of the tackle. So with Jared Goff's mobility and that run game working together, and especially because we haven't seen the Bills defense really be in sync, are these rollout passes, like you said, to Tyler Higbee and Cooper Kupp, and you also need to factor in Robert Woods into the mix too. So ultimately, to me, those options that he has and the run game and staying strong, that makes the difference to me in this one.
Okay, as I mentioned, Bills slight favorites in this game. I have the Rams winning in an upset by a field goal. I think it's going to be a really good game. It's the game I assigned myself to watching. I took it high in my game draft. I think the Rams get a road upset. Are you with me, Cynthia?
I'm completely with you. I have 24-22, so you have more total points in this one than I do. I think it's going to be just a little bit slower pace because I think Devin Singletary on the ground. Remember, Zach Moss is out, so if you're playing fantasy, you want to slide Devin Singletary right on in there, but I think it's going to be a little bit slower paced than you might imagine.
I think we're going to have points in the next game.
All right, well, we started off with that one, and now I get to follow it up with the Patriots. So at least that one's interesting because I don't know if we have an upset here or not. But the Raiders at the Patriots. Raiders, of course, coming off that awesome Monday night win that was unexpected against Drew Brees and the Saints. Patriots coming off that devastating loss where they almost had a chance to win. I'm looking for in this one Julian Edelman, the return of kind of this awesome feat for him. And by the way, the new use cases for Julian Edelman, downfield, different routes. Instead of him running to the perimeter and running on routes that are sort of shorter and don't allow him to get a bunch of yards after the catch, he's running routes that are really opening up the field for him. And you talked about yards after the catch for the Rams and Jared Goff. Look what Cam Newton's being able to get to Julian Edelman. So you obviously, he was questionable. I think that, we're about to see the injury report. I have not heard anything to believe that that's not real. I think that's more veterans rest than anything else. So for me, Julian Edelman touch is a great thing today.
It's great that Julian Edelman can play this well, but I don't know if it's a great sign that he's their best deep threat at age 34 years old. I think this is a game where the Raiders try to control the ball. They get it to Josh Jacobs. They have a really power-based running attack. Also, they have 3 tight ends on the field. They have fullbacks. It's kind of this early 90s style that they like to do. Control the ball. Don't let Cam Newton have it. And I think it matches up well with a New England defense, which is good in the back end, not so good up front. When Chase Winovich is your best front 7 player, and he's playing well, but it's really not the same fronts that we've grown accustomed to with the Patriots. So I think the Raiders can have some success running the ball.
Listen, Chase Witovich's hair deserves its own segment. Maybe you can put that in one of like the Greg Mint going forward in the future because it is a masterful thing. But to me, that hair does get the win. 27-20 is what I have projected. Nice. Cam Newton rushing touchdown will continue. That trend will continue again in this game. But I also have a lot of passing touchdowns too for him projected in this one. What do you have?
I have the Patriots winning 28-24. A little bit more of an offensive game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of stops in this game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of possessions. I think the Raiders and the Patriots, if they play a fun one, but the Patriots get it done. Our next game is in Atlanta. Ooh, the Falcons coming off a tough one. Falcons favored by 3 over Chicago. I'm going right to the picks right here. I have the Falcons winning this game, and I have them winning it by 4. And even if they have some injuries, I trust their offense compared to the Bears' offense. So Mitchell Trubisky, I know he's getting a little love because they're 2-0. But if you look at the way they're calling plays, it's all running because they don't quite trust Trubisky. He threw 2 interceptions in the second half. Maybe they weren't totally on him, but he's gone through entire halves in this young season where they're just not moving the ball. And so I don't trust teams that don't have a good passing game. Even going up against a bad Atlanta defense, I don't think they'll be aggressive enough, so I have Atlanta winning.
Do you think Allen Robinson has a touchdown?
I do. I do. And
Me
I
too.
think I think he'll be a little happier with Mitch this week.
A lot happier. Well, I think that the other person that's going to have a touchdown, well, one of them is Calvin Ridley. I don't think it's going to be 2 touchdowns like he's had in both of the previous 2 games, but Calvin Ridley's route running has been a huge difference maker for Matt Ryan. That's freed up a lot of other opportunities. That's why you see the Russell Gage of Gages of this world having the opportunity in this offense. Hayden Hurst, these are all great options, especially because Julio Jones hasn't seen the end zone where people, last game, people in fantasy were very mad at him. But I think this is a game Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley both have it. Again, Julio Jones was on the injury list, so you do want to double check that one, though.
So who do you got winning this one?
I mean, I actually have the Falcons winning it, 24-22. Close one, though.
Good. Happy. All right, Texans and Steelers are up next. Steelers favored by 4.5 in this game. I'm looking at if Deshaun Watson can pass protect. I mean, whether he can get away from that pass rush that Pittsburgh has right now. They have faced the Chiefs in week 1. Didn't really protect Watson in that game. Didn't really protect him against the Ravens. How are you going to protect him against the Steelers in this one? It's hard to imagine. The Steelers right now have the best pass rush in the league. Have we lost? Cynthia, what do you got?
Oh, I don't even know what was going on there. I was off in somewhere else on another planet probably, but I'm thinking that you want to know what exactly I have about the Steelers. I think that the Steelers and the Texans, this is an interesting game. I think we're going to see a little bit different play calling, a little more aggressive play calling by the Texans, but this defense is not going to allow that to happen. I think James Conner is a difference maker in this one. I think he has a nice, solid game. I think he's running back 17 in fantasy for me, which isn't crazy good, but it's a lot better than we've seen. It slows the pace down. It keeps J.J. Watt at bay from getting to Ben Roethlisberger, and I have a Deontay Johnson touchdown in this one.
All right, I have the Steelers are favored by 4.5, Cynthia, in this game. This is my favorite pick of the day. I have the Steelers winning this game comfortably, 28-21. I think it could be even more than that. Steelers haven't even played their best this season. I think they can play better against the Texans. What do you have?
I have 25-19. Steelers take this one. It's a nice, solid game from Ben Roethlisberger. Like I said, the Deontay Johnson touchdown. I think the Juju Smith-Schuster touchdown is also going to happen.
All right, our next game, Eagles favored by 4. Actually, we are going to take a quick break right now. Let's take a look. What's coming up? All right, we are back. This is the Drive to Excellence presented by Mercedes-Benz. I wish there was more excellence from me. I mean, Cynthia's got a whole nice little crown on her. Hawk doing okay. 4 games back. He can't be too excited, but he's not in last place. Like me, I really need to make it up on the picks. I've been doing a little better in terms of my scores, if you know what I'm saying, but a little less on who's winning the game. So I'll try to do better next week on Drive to Excellence by Mercedes-Benz. That was it. That was Drive to Excellence presented by Mercedes-Benz. Eagles have not been excellent so far this season. They host the Bengals, who are also 0-2. The Eagles are favored by 4 points in this game. I think this is a get-right game for the Eagles offensively because they don't have to score as much against this Joe Burrow-led Bengals team. If you watch what Joe Burrow did over the first few weeks of the season, everyone is really excited about how he's looked, but it's not a good offense right now. He's making good decisions, and here he is looking confident. I mean, I feel weird going against Joe Burrow, but if you look at his yards per attempt, it's 5.2. On our Around the NFL podcast, we used to call that the Gabbert zone. Anything under 6 is the Gabbert zone. Burrow is actually dead last in the NFL, and it's by a long shot. So this is a game where I think the Eagles pass rush does a little more. He gets after Joe Burrow. They keep them down, and the Eagles attack, including Miles Sanders and Carson Wentz. They don't have to get too creative. They just move the ball consistently. And again, I have the Eagles winning this game 28-20. I mean, there's a chance here. The Eagles are in first place by the end of the weekend at 1-2. If you look at around the rest of the NFC East, no one else is favored. All right, our next game is going to be Giants and 49ers. I mean, this was a great game back in the 90s. Cynthia, we hope to get her back during the show. But for right now, you're stuck with me. And in this game, I'm just looking at all the people that are missing right now for the 49ers. You think about their defensive line, and it's really thin right now. I like the Giants to win this game in an upset, 20-19. This is actually the easiest matchup I think Daniel Jones has faced so far. He's played 2 of the best defenses in the league. And now he's got to play a really banged up 49ers squad. I think they get a 1-point win. Cynthia disagrees. So that's a bad sign for me. She has the 49ers winning 24-19. So keep an eye on that. This is really the part of the season where the 49ers have to get some wins to keep their season afloat. Also trying to keep their season afloat, the Minnesota Vikings. They're hosting the Tennessee Titans today. What I'm looking for in this one is just whether this Vikings offense can bounce back at all, because Kirk Cousins is not finding guys open. It's Adam Thielen, and it's a lot of hope. Like, this is a game where you would think there'd be a home crowd to get them feeling a little better. Not so much now with no one there, and maybe that's good because they'd be booing Kirk Cousins. I like this Vikings front line going up against Minnesota. I have the Titans winning this game by 3. The Titans are favored by 3. And you know what? Cynthia and I both have it right on that. 3 points. You know, I like the Tennessee Titans to win this game. Maybe even a little more than that if you had to make a choice there. Next game up, Washington football team heading to Cleveland. What a matchup. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, it's like he prayed to the scheduling gods, and he got the Bengals and the Washington football team in back-to-back weeks when his defense can't do anything. This is the perfect team to play when your defense is struggling. I have the Browns winning this game 24-18. I just don't quite trust them enough to win in a blowout. All they got to do, though, in this game is hand the ball off to Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and an offensive line that has played awesome this year for Cleveland. So that's a really good matchup. Their offensive line against the Washington defensive line. Cynthia's got the Browns winning a little more comfortably. Next up is the Packers and the Saints. Sunday Night Football. I mean, I did not expect this game to be missing Devontae Adams going into it. We don't know that for sure. He's doubtful. He's going to try to play, but when you're listed as doubtful, they almost never play. Michael Thomas is out for this game, and I'm basing my pick really on Aaron Rodgers' passing in the first couple weeks. It's not just that he looks so good, it's that his offensive line looks so good, and you think about who's missing for the Saints. It's Jadeveon Clowney. They really needed to trade for him. They knew they needed to trade for him. It might be Marcus Davenport. He returned to practice this week, but he's still questionable on the injury report. I don't think the Saints get enough pressure on Aaron Rodgers. I have the Packers winning this game by 2. Cynthia has it flipped. She has the Saints winning this game. Last in this block, it's the best game of the week. It's Chiefs, Ravens. Yeah, we put it late in the show because it's Monday Night Football. The Ravens are favored by 3, and you know what? I have them winning by 5. Sometimes you got to trust what you've seen in the first 2 weeks of the season. Look at what Hollywood Brown is doing catching the ball. He is a different player. He's more physical. He's faster than he was a year ago. The passing weapons that Baltimore has right now. It's not just Brown, although he's a true number 1. It's Devin Duvernay. I think he'll make 1 or 2 big plays each week, almost like the Baltimore McCole Hardman. I love their tight end group. I love J.K. Dobbins. And I think if you look at this Chiefs defense right now, it's got some holes, especially in the secondary. I think the Ravens are able to expose those holes. I have the Ravens winning this game. Cynthia and I have a lot of disagreements, so you can just decide who you trust, Cynthia or me, the one with the model or, the one who's just shooting from the hip. All right, let's take a quick break. Hopefully we get Cynthia back. All right, we're here starting our quick pick segment. Cynthia's back. Thank God. It's great to see her. Cowboys, Seahawks. What a game. Seahawks favored by 4.5. I have the Seahawks winning this game by 3 points. I just don't trust either of these defenses to make any stops in this game. So I think it's similar to Patriots, Seahawks. It's going to be a shootout going right to the end.
I have a barn burner too, but I actually have 4 points in this one, so huge difference between you and I, obviously. I have 29-25 in this matchup for the same reason. I don't trust either one of these defenses. Okay, so what about the Buccaneers at the Broncos? Tom Brady has had a rough time playing in Mile High, but remember, you have to remember who the quarterbacks were. Like, obviously, Brock Osweiler. There's a ton of really notable quarterbacks that he went up against that were real thorns in his side. Anyways, in this matchup, I have him getting a 5-point win, 24-19.
You're right. I think he did lose to Brock one time. He lost to the shell of Peyton Manning. I don't think he'll lose to Jeff Driscoll, but I tell you what, Jeff Driscoll threw the ball pretty well last week, and I think this Broncos defense, they're just good enough every week to keep it close. So I have the Bucs only winning this game by 2 points. I think it'll be more entertaining than people expect. Not so sure that'll be the case in Charger land. Justin Herbert making his first start. The Chargers are favored by 6.5. I have the Chargers winning by just 5. I think they're just going to focus on the run. Joshua Kelly, Austin Eckler. That should be enough against a Panthers defense that really is not doing anything good defensively so far.
Yeah, so I have the same thing, 26-19, same sort of script. Although I will say Mike Davis is worth it in fantasy if you need a running back, because there are so many missing. Fancy. Okay, so another game where I'm not sure it's going to be the most exciting. Maybe that's what we're going to do. Where the Jets travel to Indianapolis to face the Colts. Jets, big underdogs, 10.5 points. This is an interesting matchup. We've got obviously an O-line versus a defense that's very, very not Jet-like. Usually the Jets are good at stopping the run. I have 26-17 in favor of the home team. In this one, I think Jonathan Taylor has a monstrous game yet again. Maybe becomes the first Colts rookie in like a billion years to rush for 2 consecutive 100-yard games.
Yeah, I got the Colts by 13 points. I like what Steve Weiss did on our show the other day. Just look at these Jets. And they're injured. Like, they were bad enough before they were injured. I'm taking the Colts to win big. Next game, Lions. Your Lions, Cynthia, heading to Arizona. The Cardinals are favored by 5. And you know what? This is one of my favorite picks of the day, that the Lions keep it close. So I know we disagree, but I have the Cardinals winning 30-28. I don't think the Cardinals have played a quarterback or an offense as good as Stafford. And I think this game is going to be a little more competitive than you do, Cynthia, not to spoil your pick.
Well, listen, I think Matthew Stafford is really good, and I will never say anything different. The problem I have is that the Detroit defense, they're not so good, and they don't play Kyler Murray. So if it were head-to-head Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford somehow, then I might have a different outcome, but I have 28-21 in favor of the Arizona Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray might have the biggest day of anyone in terms of a fantasy quarterback this entire week. That's a huge statement, and you should follow that as such. And I think DeAndre Hopkins also has a big one. Remember, Christian Kirk isn't playing, so if you're looking for a sleeper in fantasy, maybe Larry Fitzgerald is someone that you could consider. Now it is time. You got them? Did you? Where are they?
I've
Where
had them on
the
whole segment. I was going to use them early.
Well, I didn't.
They were under the desk.
Ready?
You know, I'm ready.
More or less? Ready? Chiefs at Ravens on Monday. More or less than 54 points. Which one do you got?
I mean, these are 2 great offensive teams. This is an offensive season. If you went more all season long, I think you'd be doing well, at least so far.
I'm going with less. I have 51 points in this one. I think it's going to be a slower pace than imaginable. Why? I think that the Chiefs defense has some tricks in store for Lamar Jackson. They have been circling this one since last year, week 3, not because they didn't win last year, because the Chiefs did, but because this is like the first test, and this is like the new Peyton versus Tom. This is Lamar versus Patrick, and so we got to get it going in this one. They're going to get up for a big game. All right, next up, more or less, Cowboys at Seahawks. More or less than 56 points.
What about you? Oh, wow. How about the fact that there was like 65 last week in Seattle? No?
Dun, 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 dun. I think it's going to be too much running in this one to have enough drives and possessions to keep it going. I think Chris Carson and Ezekiel Elliott, but especially Ezekiel Elliott, makes a big difference on the ground. Those plays take up more time. Those chunks, those are shorter, drive for each game. So instead of being 12 or 15 drives, so maybe only more like a normal average, about 10 drives in this one for each side. So that's why I just have a slightly lower than that score. All right, you ready? Last but not least, your favorite game, Rams at Bills. More or less than 48 points. More or less than 48. Look at you. Look at you. I'm just the opposite of fun. I'm unfortunately, my model comes up 46 points, which is less than 48. Again, run game this one. I told you Devin Singletary. You're going to see the running attack is going to be a big factor for the Rams as well.
They've been 2 offensive teams. Again, it's a young season, I know, but so far they've been all about offense. Finally, we've got our parting advice. And my parting advice today is basically just go with the right Watt. J.J. Watt, when he was winning Defensive Players of the Year, was the best defensive player I've ever seen, and that's still true. Sorry to Aaron Donald, but he's not that guy anymore. T.J. Watt is the best pass rusher in the entire NFL, and he's on the much better team. The pick I am most confident in the entire day is the Steelers winning, and winning comfortably. I think they're just in another class of teams than these Houston Texans.
So I agree with you, and I think you need to give a little love to Derek Watt because who doesn't love a good fullback? I mean, come on. So you got to add Derek Watt to that. I think I'm probably most confident about Arizona over Detroit, which does lead me to my parting advice, which is don't let the 2-game sample size fool you. And then I'm talking about with Kansas City and with Baltimore. People are like, you said it. You got to trust what you see. You also have to trust your personnel, and you have to trust your play caller. Both John Harbaugh and Andy Reid have called a billion plays, so they're going to have fun things in store for each other. Same thing in that New Orleans and Green Bay matchup. Those are prolific quarterbacks. Don't let what you saw from Drew Brees last week overly influence what you're thinking this week. But on that flip side, do believe what you've seen from the Cardinals because that Detroit defense is banged up. None of the corners are playing, so just keep it all in context.
Another way to say that, don't overvalue Greg's advice because he went the opposite.
No, always value Greg's advice. This is how I feel about Greg's advice. This is
all right,
Greg's
we'll
advice.
see you next week. We'll be back on Thursday, on Friday with Hawk.
We'll see you soon, Andrew.